What if stillness was your superpower? Hey, Brave Soul, it's your friend Chrystal Dawn, and this is Her Brave Story podcast. Today, I am joined by the incredible Dr. Alice Mackinnon, author, educator, coach, surfer, Zen student, and true Stillness Ninja. We'll explore her two powerful self-published books, Becoming a Stillness Ninja and Wellbeing on a Budget. Alice shares how surfing, presence, and deep self-trust helped her heal through burnout, grief, and life's biggest transitions. She's also the co-host of the Smart and Sassy Seniors with her wife, Jennifer Jeffries, empowering women to thrive forward. You don't need a perfect life to live bravely. If this resonates with you, please share, subscribe, and leave us a review. This helps to amplify the voices of women rising. And if you're looking for a deeper connection, come join us inside of Her Brave Circle, our private online community space for women rewriting their stories with power, purpose, and play. Let's dive in. Morning and welcome to Her Brave Story, Dr. Alice Mackinnon. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Oh, good morning, Chrystal. What a treat to see you early on a Friday morning and just get to spend some time together.
Oh, it's such a delight. And I am really excited that you are here today on Her Brave Story podcast. I'm thrilled to welcome you. I want to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land that I am on today, which is the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation. And I pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, and all Torres Strait Islanders peoples. Thank you.
Beautiful. And I am also in Bundjalung country, but in the Yugambeh language region, the home of the 8 family groups of the Yugambeh people. And I just acknowledge the incredible 60,000 years of connection that they have with this land, and the tending and the celebrating and the loving and the calling up and singing up of this land. It's such an honor and a privilege to be inhabiting this place.
Mm. Oh, thank you. I just felt the deep reverence that you have, and I love the singing up
Mm.
of this land. And we are so very, very lucky to live on these lands and to be here and to be recording here too, and sharing more stories of women. And Her Brave Story podcast are conversations that spark courage, ignite possibility, and celebrate the brave in every woman. The podcast today is focused on, as all of our podcasts, on resilience, exploring courage together, and well-being. And it's a real honor to have you here, Alice, in this space together. And you are someone who has such a widespread cast of tools that you have in your practice, in your daily practice, and in your life practice that you bring to your being with your clients, with your speaking, with your authoring, and with your surfing.
Thank you, Chrystal. Such a joy to be here with you today, and congratulations on this beautiful podcast and its clear intentions to uplift women, to give us courage, to give us inspiration, to nourish us with joy and connection with
Oh,
sisterhood, with the connections that we have as women.
yes. Yeah, it is. It is. Thank you, Alice. And it's so wonderful to get to have these conversations that spotlight women's great work in the world too. And I'm so
Mm,
excited that we get to hear from you today on 2 of your books,
yeah, thank you.
Becoming a Stillness Ninja, and we'll have close-ups of these a little bit later, and Wellbeing on a Budget. These are 2 books that we're going to get to hear about today, as well as some of your life, Alice, and how you came to be a well-being ninja and in fact a stillness ninja.
Yeah.
How did this happen? Where's Alice at today? Tell us about where you are and how you are today, and then we'd love to hear part of your brave story.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Today I am continuing to be a work in progress, as we all are. Very aware of the kind of continual peeling back of layers, but I'm very much in a place of joy where I feel very safe in my life, where I feel very thankful for the opportunity really to have a second life. Uh,
Mm,
to have a crack at building a successful business, to have a healthy family, to have a crack at a beautiful marriage, my second marriage, and uh, you know, surfing, running, active, all the good things. I just feed myself the nourishment that I know keeps me well from the inside.
mhm,
Um, so I'm in that place. I'm also very aware of the incredibly uncertain times that we live in, ecologically, socially, politically. I'm very aware of those things too, and I'm aware that I left a career of 20 or more years of burnout in the environmental space, and having this second chance. I am very much a work in progress around how a dynamic balance, a kind of a dance between being awake, engaged, and also sustaining and nourishing myself in that dance.
mm. Oh, so beautiful. For those of you who are not joining us on YouTube, I just want to say that we do have a YouTube channel, and if you hear me clicking, that's I'm working the screen so that we can see both of us, and I invite you to come and join us on YouTube if you haven't already. And to hear you speak, Alice, about your gratitude for where you are and what you've come through, and also the reverence for that path.
Mm.
I love hearing it. And it's something that I think grows in us as we deepen into who we are too, the gratitude for what everything is and the past as well, and the reverence for the hard things, sometimes the hard lessons that come as well as gifts, and saying, wow, well, that was actually preparing me,
Yeah.
as I hear you preparing the soil for your second marriage.
Yeah. My wonderful wife, Jennifer Jeffries, known as the present day wise woman, and she has a great podcast of her own called Healthy Life Hacks. She's a naturopath and an international speaker, and I'm so grateful that we found each other, and that we just pushed all the games and all the bits and pieces aside and just jumped in, and yeah, got married. And Jen's been out as a lesbian woman for since she was about 17 or 18, a long, long time. And so when we got married almost 3 years ago, it was such a huge moment for her because she carries that history of activism and carrying that huge weight of, yeah, her history
Hmm.
around that. So we are so happily married. Even out in the surf this morning, I was paddling around and thinking, I wouldn't have life any other way.
Oh,
It is just so beautiful to be with a life partner, to be with a wife, my wife, and
yeah.
know that we're there for the duration.
Oh, I love hearing about finding love again.
Oh, yes. Amazing, amazing. It was such an amazing process, Crystal. I'd bounced around. I had been I'd been married for a few years and in a heterosexual relationship for 10 years. That's with my son's dad. And that came apart. And that came apart a long time ago when our son was 4 years old. And
Yes.
I just kind of pinged around, and I'd never really had belief in myself in terms of long-term relationships and love. And I
Mm.
had just had this ongoing doubt in myself, and then I was in a partnership, and towards the end of it, when we both knew it was coming apart, it was probably
Mm.
about 5 years ago, um, we went to see the film Supernova, which is
Oh.
an incredible, incredible film about a gay couple. Um, and I remember coming out of that film, and it's a heartbreaking film. I came out of that film and I went, "That's what I want. That." And it was so clear. It was like I'd never had such clarity in my life before. It was like, "I want that." And so then I did a little bit of therapy around relationship readiness with a wonderful therapist, and I found Jen.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. I reached out to Jen. I was the brave one and reached out to Jen, and it was just this, time of finally, after all of those years of being there she is.
Mm.
Ah, that was only a few weeks ago at the beach.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that photo.
Aw, yeah, it's a beauty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I reached out to her and I just had such clarity, not only about what I wanted, but also that I was capable of it. Because I'd done that little
Mm.
bit of therapy specifically around relationship readiness. It was like, okay, I'm clear. I know what I want. I know I'm capable of it. Let's go.
Mm. Mhm.
Mm.
Wow, and how powerful when we just know.
So powerful. Lifetime of longing. It was like, I know now. Okay.
Yeah, in your book here, and we'll get into this, but you do talk about
I
there's a chapter actually I was saying to Alice right before we tuned in with you here live today that this morning I got to do my meditation practice and my breathing, and afterwards I dove into Alice's beautiful book, and it was just so nourishing to be with her and to have Alice with me on the mat. So thank you for these beautiful images in
Mm.
Stillness, Becoming a Stillness Ninja too. There was a picture of the two of you actually with your surfboards, and Jen has a beautiful rainbow colored
She does.
board, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that is such a cool board." I'll
Yeah.
have to find that. Tell us, Alice, as a practitioner of the emotional freedom technique, has EFT been a big part of your life personally?
Hmm. Well, I'm only fairly new to EFT, Crystal. I came upon it less than 3 years ago, actually. A colleague in the counselling area who I worked with, she asked if I knew about it because I had been doing some workshops looking for a tool that would really elevate the type of coaching and mentoring and supervision that I offer.
Mm.
And she said, "Have you heard of emotional freedom techniques? Have you heard of EFT or clinical tapping?" And I was like, "No, no, what is it? Tell me more." And so she did. And she said that we have one of the world leaders in EFT on the Gold Coast at Bond University, Dr. Peter Stapleton, now a professor in psychology. And so I went to one of Peter's introductory workshops, a 3-day workshop run by one of her trained EFT practitioners. And for the month after that, I just used it for myself. I really wanted to see how it felt for myself. And after a month, I went, okay, this is not going to let me go. This is
Mm.
really something very important. It's a very physical, somatic way of calming the nervous system, reducing stress, um,
Mm.
unsticking the sticky emotions like grief, uh,
Mm.
shame, anxiety, all of those kind of anger, frustration. It's really powerful at unsticking that. So I jumped in then and I did the full accreditation program that Peter has on offer. I'm 62 and a half now. I would have been 59, 60 when I started it. It was a really big leap to take up such an intense course of study at that
Mhm.
age
Yeah.
and for quite a long time during the program, and it is an intense program. It is humbling. It will bring you to your knees, and it did. And at the same time, at some point during the process, with one of my supervisors and mentors in that process, I crossed a watershed, as we often
Mm,
do.
yeah.
There was a threshold and I crossed it and I went, "Okay, yes, I am going I God damn it, I'm gonna get through this. I am worth it. This is worth it." And I pushed through. And, so I've been working with it now for a good couple of years, and it's absolutely the tool that I was looking for in terms of being able to work side by side with people as a
Mhm,
coach.
mhm,
Um it allows us to we were talking about it yesterday when we were doing our sound check a little bit. It allows us to become radically aware of what it is that we're feeling in the moment,
mm,
whatever that is. It's especially effective for the sticky stuff.
mhm,
And then to use that tapping, which vibrates through our body and speaks to the amygdala, to the limbic system. Um, and it allows us to accept whatever it is that we're experiencing or feeling in that moment. It might be a
mhm,
physical sensation, it might be a thought, it might be an emotion. We can expose ourselves to that, own it,
mhm.
accept it, acknowledge it. And as we tap, it's letting our nervous system know that we're safe and sound at the same time. So I use it straight after my meditation first thing in the morning to start my day with a steady nervous system.
Mm.
I use it in moments when I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed during the day, and I use it as a therapeutic tool with my clients. And I teach it to my clients straight up front so they can use it in exactly those ways as well.
And is there something that you could share today with our listeners that if they are experiencing one of the emotions that you
Yeah.
described, either grief or overwhelm in particular, that
Yes.
they could have a simple technique they could use?
Absolutely. We could just do a minute or 2 of tapping right now. So,
Wonderful.
so I just invite, if you're watching, to
Mm,
just take a moment, sit in a chair or to sit on a cushion, to notice your feet on the ground, to feel your body sitting
mm.
in the chair, and just to take a nice, steady, easy breath and take your awareness inside for a moment and simply notice what's there. Just letting the breath flow steadily and easily. It might be a physical sensation, it might be butterflies in your tummy, it might be tight shoulders, it might be a grippy feeling in your lower back, it could be a physical sensation, it might be an emotion. Might be a feeling of overwhelm. It might be a thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this day. I slept so badly last night. I don't know what to do. Could be any of those things. And as you bring your awareness to that, just rate that out of 10, 10 being the highest level of distress or stress that you could possibly feel, and 0 being nothing. And wherever you are is wherever you are. So we just use that subjective rating to let us know where we are. And then come on back to your eyes open and coming back to me. And what we're going to do is I'll say some words, but you say what's on your mind or in your body as we go. So we come to a setup point, which is halfway down one hand. It can be either hand. And we just tap with 2 fingers on that. There's an acupressure point there that's really powerful. And then just repeat after me, even though I have this feeling, and just name what the feeling is. I have this feeling in my body. I have this thought. I have this emotion. Right here, right now, I am just acknowledging that I have this feeling. And right here, right now, I completely love and accept myself. And we do it a couple more times, even though I'm aware of this sensation in my body. I'm aware of this thought and this emotion. I'm feeling it. Just name where you're feeling it. And right here, right now, I'm completely safe and sound. Even though I'm feeling this feeling, I'm noticing this sensation in my body. I have this thought that I can't let go of. And right here, right now, I acknowledge and accept this feeling and this sensation, and I'm completely safe and sound. So that's called our setup statement, where we acknowledge what's going on. And then we have about 7 or 8 points around our face and our torso. So come to the start of an eyebrow, right in the middle. You can't see my eyebrows because they're sun bleached and they're grey, but just right where the start of the eyebrow is, that's it. And then we just summarize this feeling. Come to the outside of your eye. Yep, this sensation, just feeling this thing in my body. Come under your eye, on the bone under your eye. Yep, acknowledging this feeling. Yeah, and if you want to, you can do it with 2 hands. 1 or 2 hands is fine. And then under the nose, just acknowledging that this is going on in my body right now. Under the lower lip, feeling this emotion. And now we come to the side of the chest, below the collarbone and to the side of the sternum. Yep. This feeling. And then under the arm, just acknowledging that this is what's going on this morning for me. And then right on the top of the head, just tapping around in a bit of a circle there. Just noticing this feeling. And then what we do is we take a break and take a couple of slow, easy breaths. You might want to wiggle your toes. Notice your body sitting in the chair that you're in. Let the shoulders soften a little. Let the belly unclench. And again, take your awareness inside and notice what's happened to that physical sensation or to that thought or to that emotion. And give it a rating out of 10 again. And then once you've got that second rating, it might have gone up, it might have gone down. What we're aiming to do is let it come down to about a 0 or a 1. And that's a great indication that our nervous system is calming down. Sometimes it takes a few rounds, this feeling, just acknowledging this pain, this emotion, whatever it is that's going on for you, just tap around again, take another break, re-rate yourself. It's called the subjective unit of distress, or the SUD, out of 10. Come back. Just do it a couple more times until you feel yourself down at about a 0, a 1, or maybe even a 2. Oftentimes when we're doing it, we'll start to yawn. That's our nervous system regulating itself. Sometimes we'll burp. Sometimes we'll get a rush of heat. It's all just about letting the amygdala know, in particular, that vibration travels through our body to the limbic system. So if we were to have the hand model of the head brain, there's our downstairs brain, there's our limbic system and the amygdala, and there's our prefrontal cortex. And that tapping vibrates through our body to let the amygdala know that we're safe and sound. It can slow down its kind of blaring of the radar for danger, and it allows the prefrontal cortex to come back online so we can access our wisdom, we can access our knowledge, we can make clear, calm decisions. In essence, that's how
Oh,
it works.
I just thank you. So nourishing to experience this. Thank you for gifting this to all of us who are here with you today and all of us who get to listen to you whenever we tune in here to her Brave Story podcast. And this is a great time to say that Alice has a wealth of opportunities that are free for you to come and enjoy on YouTube, as well as her Sassy Seniors podcast with her partner, where you can tune in and listen to more practices like EFT and their well-being practices with naturopathy and yoga nidra and so many different practices that Dr. Alice herself has that she shares freely across these platforms. So I just thought I'd give a shout out to you there, Alice, and say that for those of you who are just longing to hear Alice's voice more and to drop into her stillness. There are many opportunities for you to do that. They will be in the show notes at herbravestorypodcast.com. So you want to head over there after you're tuning in here so you can connect with Alice and her work even deeper.
Thanks, Chrystal.
And I love when I'm listening to you here with the EFT and talking about, there's this real acknowledging of where you are at in this moment. And it does make me think about your book because you're in a moment when you start your book. And I'd love you to tell us about this, where this is birthed from and how this has become a part of your life, this well-being and stillness, because it wasn't always, you weren't always so Zen. And you are a member of the Zen community. You're in the upper echelons of this stillness community. She's a real ninja, folks. But it might not have always been that way. And I'd love to hear how you've come to this.
I definitely, it has definitely been a journey into this. I had, and my brother and I both had interesting childhoods, and it was pretty chaotic, which then rippled into really an adult life of workaholism and saving the world, saving the earth. So I had a good 18 solid years of just spinning my wheels so hard to save the earth, and multiple episodes of burnout in doing that, until the kind of final episode of burnout, which came actually a couple of years after I learned how to surf. And I really think learning to surf at the age of 46, yes,
Yes.
was a
Yeah.
massive unintentional intervention. Yeah, yeah, and you've heard that story at, when we did the Water People podcast launch, Chrystal. That was such a massive release and liberation,
Mm.
and so that, I think, started the ball rolling, and then just before I was 50, I just really had an episode of burnout that I couldn't come back from without massive change, and so I was able to work part-time and take some time out, and I started to write poetry, and I started to sit on the front steps of my home in the mountains and just listen. I just listened to the wind, and I listened to the whispers of the soil and the forest and the trees, and that was the first turning, I think, that really made a big difference for me. And so I retrained at that point, my PhD is in adult education, adult learning. And, I'd done years and years as a community organizer, a professional environmental protector, and that kind of thing. And so I retrained as a fitness instructor and then as a yoga instructor and then a surfing instructor and a qigong instructor. So you can see from that little bundle that my workaholism was still pretty well engaged. Let's not do one thing, let's just do a whole handful of things.
No, you can't stop at one. That'd be
I
too easy.
know. I know. And I was just traveling along beautifully, and I'd written a lovely book about my unlikely surfing journey at that point called Surfing as a Dance: How One Woman Found Grace in and Out of the Water. At that same time in my late 40s, early 50s, a partner at the time had taught me how to do a form of meditation that I could actually sit still for. And I started to practice that every day, and that changed a lot. That was my first inklings of what stillness felt like. It was huge. It was huge. And I made a commitment after about a month of practicing that type of meditation that I would continue to do that. I realized I was at a crossroads. I could either go back to my ways of manic doing, or I could let this path of meditation unfold and with no idea of where it would take me, just do that. And I ended up doing that. And so that started to bring a sense of stillness, just little moments of stillness into my life. And I was building on that, and I had become part of a Zen Sangha, a Zen community on the Gold Coast, and was practicing yoga and teaching yoga and living this really happy life of surfing and mountains and just the best of everything. And then, yeah, the worst bushfire in Queensland's history then came down the line at us at Beachmont, and that kicked off the Black Summer bushfires of 2019, 2020, and that changed everything. And that's where Becoming a Stillness Ninja, where the book came from eventually, was navigating so much loss, of the forest and of our neighbourhoods at Beachmont, and a whole chain of dominoes fell in terms of my family. And it just went all the way through until eventually at the end of 2021, I'd moved to the Gold Coast for a little bit of a sea change. I was renting a little granny flat. And then my brother and I lost our family property completely. And so, that period of about 2.5, 3 years, that was my crucible. That was my crucible. That really, really took me into the practices, using the practices that I had, but I also did a solid year of trauma-based therapy as well, because my childhood trauma had come back up, and which I hadn't even been particularly aware of. I found a wonderful therapist, and we worked together for a year. And I didn't even know it at the time, but she was using EFT. I
So
just
powerful.
remember, I'd go to her and we'd do this funny kind of tapping thing that I could never properly remember. But I knew I could do it in extreme moments, just tap somewhere. Yeah. And so there's actually a little section in the book, the last therapy session, I think it's called. And it was my last therapy session with that wonderful therapist. I was telling her about a retreat that I had run a couple of weeks earlier, where I had done a yoga nidra and a gentle yoga practice with the group. And we had all gone to this incredibly still place. And I remember saying to the therapist, this is what happened. And she said to me, because you have experienced such chaos in your life, and you're doing the work to move through that, you have access to the opposite end of that in terms of calm and stillness. Because you've
Mm.
experienced that, you have access to this as well. And I'll never forget that, because it's like my whole life made sense at that moment. Oh,
Mm.
there was purpose and meaning. She helped me find purpose and meaning in all that I'd been through. Mm.
Oh, what it sounds like a profound moment to have there after, as you say, after all this chaos, after everything. You name this portion as the crucible, like the crucible. I wanted to bring that back up as something that resonated with me too, and I imagine it's going to resonate with anyone who's tuning in as well. The crucible, the time in your life when you are going through something really, really difficult alone,
Yeah.
and it can seem like an eternity or that it may never end either, that there's really feels uh, f- far less hopeful than other points in your life.
Yeah.
And to come out of that with a tool, and with more than one tool, but with clarity as well around what you're going to offer from that experience. Because I think all of us in the different crucibles that we go through, periods of our life, they're like times when something is brewing inside of us too, that it's not quite formed yet, and the pressure, the extra pressure is needed in order to just get it just so we can then be able to just pass it out and say, okay, well, this is it. I've been back there baking
Yeah, that's
this
right.
whole time. It wasn't, I just, yes, that was the imagery that I was getting, from this experience. And I mean, how terrifying as well to be through the fires.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for the loss of so many things,
Mm.
a life, a legacy of your family as well, and
Mm.
these different transitions that you've navigated
Mm.
to come to this place and have the gift of stillness to share
Mm.
through real hard times. And if you've just tuned in, I'm talking to Dr. Alice Mackinnon, who is a well-being ninja. She's an author and a speaker. She and her wife, Jen, run Sassy Seniors, which does events as well as podcasts. She's talking to us now on Becoming a Stillness Ninja, which is reflections on resilience and recovery and love.
Mm.
Her one of the two of her latest books. And I share that with you here today because if you were if you were just joining us and you want to go back after this and listen to the beginning where you can hear Alice offering us EFT and sharing about it. And the reason that matters is because she's shared with us how challenging some of the things have been for her, and that she's found this tool that she's used tells me how important this tool is for us, all of us getting to experience it right now, and how valuable it is, and that you can use it today, right now.
Mm.
And it's something so powerful. So thank you, Alice, and thank you for sharing that part of your story. I want to bring up the cover of Becoming a Stillness Ninja, if I can find it. I know I can.
You can.
There. Yes. Here it comes, everyone. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So is this you?
That's me. That was actually taken on Jen's and my wedding morning.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's reversed. It's actually but in order to kind of move into the story, we had to reverse it. So I look like I'm a goofy footer, but I'm actually not.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's me. That yeah.
then we can still share waves because I'm goofy. So
Oh, great. My friend, Tim Baker, who I think you know, he wrote the incredible book, Patting the Shark. about his journey, oh my gosh, into prostate cancer. It's a wonderful book if people haven't read it. It's also about crucibles, and
Mm.
he's doing really, really well. But anyway, he reckons that I am a stillness ninja out in the surf, because he says, you catch waves that I don't even see them, and you're just cruising along. And I think that beautiful photo, which was taken by a friend of ours, Tav, who's a local photographer, I think that kind of captures it. I love that photo, because it's just like, yeah, the ocean, the sky, me, the board, we're just all one. We're one.
You are all one. You're in alignment.
There is alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're on that frequency. I love this, how this, the topics of frequency and alignment are really in the it's in the mainstream right now. I feel like people are starting to say, "Oh, wow, like they can feel the vibrations or the frequency." I'm like, "Yes, amazing. This is what really we are. Vibrational beings, there are frequencies. We can align ourselves." And so this picture, your book, the person who you are, the way that you walk through life, you are in alignment with the stillness. Therefore, you have the ninja ways.
Which, speaking of which, I love ninjas, and you and I have chatted a bit about ninjas, because your lovely boy loves ninjas too. And I think they offer that metaphor of the ninja offers us such a doorway into practice,
Mhm.
because the emotional self-regulation, whether it's through tapping or surfing or running or however, we actually have to practice it. The breath.
Mhm. Mm.
We don't do these things,
Mm.
we're not going to feel the benefits. And so showing up like a ninja to the dojo, or to the world as dojo, it's essential. We just have to do it over and over again, over and over again. And so that, I think I talk about it in that book, so that life itself becomes a practice.
Mm.
Every
Mhm.
moment can be working with the breath. Every moment can be connecting with someone with kindness or patience, or, every moment can be doing the work like
Mm.
a ninja.
Mhm.
Mm.
And so is that what becoming a stillness ninja is in this book? Is reflections on resilience, recovery, and love?
Yeah.
Is that what people can expect in your book?
They can expect that. And there are very, very personal stories in there about that crucible, that
Mm.
multi-year crucible, and some of the things that happened during that. But then there's poetry, which I love working with poetry. Oh, now I don't even write full poems. Now I just write haikus, because I just distilling and distilling. But I always feel like the prose can tell the story, but the poetry can make it universal, and take people into that alignment, into that frequency. And so there's the stories, there's the poems and the photographs. And in many, many ways, the poems are more important to me in that book than the prose is.
And you have even are there words as a hold on, I'll just get myself back up here too. As a poet, as someone
Mhm.
who loves poetry, are there words that you particularly are drawn to, or phrases, or does it just fall to you? What is your process with poetry? How does that come to you?
That's such a good question, Chrystal. It's in transition at the moment, actually. I find that at the end of that book, I reach across because I've got it sitting right next to me. At the end of that book, I came to a place that some of us know of as post-traumatic growth.
Mm.
So when we go through traumatic events, there's recovery, and then there is always the possibility of growth out of that. It's not
Mm.
just, oh, I've recovered from that. Okay, I can carry on with my life. It's like, wow, there is something completely new being birthed in me. I am a different person. And that's reflected in my relationship with poetry these days. I find that I haven't been able to go back to poetry the way that I used to write it. Is everything okay? Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Alice. I'm just taking a moment. Please continue because I'm just taking a moment here to get a quick message from my son. I'll take one moment here to just read this message to see if he's okay. They've just messaged. Sorry, I needed to take that message because they don't usually call me. Um, sorry, everyone. This is part of being a parent and podcasting at the same time. This is a part of lifing and showing up in in whatever state we're in, and this is part of the experiment that we're continuing to run with the doing, with offering the gifts that we want to offer and standing in our lives the way we want to with things that come up. So of course our family is most important. We want to see and check on them and make sure they're okay. He is okay, Alice. Thank you.
Is there anything you need to do?
Yeah, I would like to do is just give them a call.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you might, while I'm giving them a quick call, to keep our beautiful podcast going and our audience. There's a part here. It's on page 35. I'm not sure if you have your book
I
handy.
do.
This is my story. I
Yes.
am a forest. I am a tree
Yeah.
consumed by fire. I don't know if that's one that resonates with you today, that you feel like you might want to lean into.
Yeah.
But if it is, then I might take this call
Yeah.
and do that. Alice, thank you so much.
Welcome, Chrystal. Yeah, so this is from very early in the book where it talks about we're in the midst of the stories about the, the Beachmont bushfire. And out of that experience came a poem which I called My Story. I am of forest. I am of tree, consumed by fire, now regenerating, now running the ridges of the Coomera River, a eucalypt of the Macpherson overlap. After we burned, I gave myself to Hades and travelled the deepening roots of my Chrystal, uncultivating myself in a journey of remembering desolation, despair, and the sacred sorrow of deep time, where lifeless leaves rattle like pages in abandoned libraries, and books that burned to the ground lie sobbing in ashes at our feet. Human knowledge of this time is so naive. We are blind to both the nuances and the thundering southerlies that roar across Mount Roberts, now unsheltered from the world. But with the return of the rain come the bird-winged butterflies, congregating on poetic greens and blossoms. Rainforest moths throw themselves at the bathroom light in a snowstorm of powdery wings, signalling through the night that there is still love. I am wedded to this place so keenly now that it moves through me like the tide. I teeter on the precipice of mythic expression and take my leave from tidy daylight speech to plunge my hands into the underworld of soulful roots of funding. As I speak for this soil, we shiver like wild things in the wind, in communion, in recognition, and darkness holds me like a lover. Like a monochromatic handmade photograph hung in the sky to dry, the full moon sets in the west, tangled in a web of scudding clouds. White cockatoos mill raucously at dusk, their wings like blank pages gusting above the canopy. There is heartbreaking intimacy in the curl of a leaf resting by the roadside. There are quiet skies as my story waits to be told.
Ooh, wow. Thank you, Alice.
Yeah, thanks, Chrystal. That was beautiful to read that again. I read it we did the Beachmont community. We were able to secure quite a lot of creative recovery funding after the bushfire. And so together we wrote a book, we did an art exhibition, we did murals across Beachmont Mountain. And I remember when myself and another friend, we had an art exhibition after the fires as well. And I remember I read that poem as part of the opening, and I haven't read it aloud since then.
Oh.
So, yeah. Ah,
Wow. Full circle moments.
a full cycle moment. Indeed.
Yeah, and it was amazing because I literally just opened your beautiful book, and
That's it.
this was there, and it was really divine timing, and to be in the flow, and for it to be synchronistic, and
Yeah.
I love that it was healing for you too.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, a delight. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I look forward to pouring through your book. And as Alice said, it is actually such a beautiful book because there are so many, it's a picture-rich book as well, um, which is something as a visual person I really love. As I'm gonna try to, there we go. It's there. My page is not my side. So almost every page has pictures on it, as you can see, which is so beautiful for those of us who are just as much visual as we love reading, and being able to tell your story with such richness as well through verse and imagery and across multi-platforms. Your creativity is just abundant.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And the second book is an accompaniment to the
Yes, that's right. This is the personal, this is the, right down inside the personal story, but this is really what came out. This is like my brain in a book of the practices that enable us to navigate hard times, that enable us to self-regulate when we just want to scream and burn
Mm.
our bridges and, those sorts of things. And there's a really big difference between putting a cork on something and pushing it down. I'm not saying
Mm.
do that because we know that that's what generates illness in so many ways. This is about letting our working in alignment and working alongside our nervous system so that we are able to, in difficult times, where an email might land and we're on alert, or we get a phone call, about our son, and it's like, oh, okay, alert. Yeah. And then we need to know what to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Do with that cortisol that then starts pumping through our body, and what do we do to be able to continue on with the podcast? How do we continue to relate to people with patience and kindness? And that's
Oh.
what and ourselves, that's what this book is about.
Well, I will hold it close then. How do we continue to relate to people who might be very difficult
That's
with
right.
patience and kindness?
That's right. That's right.
You need the wellness on a budget in your pocket, folks. This is the answer. Hang on. I'm just going to take 2 minutes here. What was that? Yep. Okay. Right.
That's right. Look, one thing I'm super proud about with that book is that it's filled with QR codes. So that, there's the information about this is why breathing is important, and here are some breathing exercises. And then you can click on a QR code and it takes you straight through to me going, let's do this breathing activity together, or let's do this qigong exercise together, or do you need to release some stress? Here, let's tap together. Yeah, I'm so proud of my tech abilities.
Oh my goodness. You are a sassy senior. So sassy.
So I wrote it all, and then I made all of these videos to then, take people through it. So I am
Wow.
proud of that book.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations on not only producing one, but two books as a resource as well. I love this, that it's really a resource for people to have.
It is.
And this is Alice's website here. This is what it's going to look like when you get here. And I just want to say, I highly encourage you to sign up for the weekly dose of heart healing and high vibes. That's at the top here. You can sign up at Wellbeing on a Budget right here. And you have a video as well introducing your book. And look here, beautiful surfboard here. And this is what it looks like, folks. This is the cover. And as you saw me holding up, and Alice as well, Wellbeing on a Budget, the Inner Ninja Handbook. So they go together, these two books.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's this one here. They're both on the website here. And that is Alice, AliceAliceMackinnon.com. Alice Iona Mackinnon.com.
Yeah.
And Alice actually, just since we're here, you can see she actually has other books. This is the book she was speaking of earlier, Surfing as a Dance. Ooh, The Dharma of Surfing.
That was my very first one.
Oh my goodness, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So I love this, and you can see here there's so many ways to connect with Alice and her work with me. What is mindfulness as a martial art, emotional freedom, coaching and mentoring, speaking, facilitating and training, smart and sassy seniors. Smart and sassy. Yes, see, smart and sassy. Community classes, health and nutrition, so much more here. So definitely get over to her website to check that out as well. Will you be able to find both of the books that we've been talking about today?
And
which
I'll
are
personally sign them and write you a note on them.
Oh my goodness.
You can also get them on any online bookstores as well. But if you want a personal note, I am more than happy to do that. You just have to get them direct from me.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is an incentive, folks, because I'll tell you a quick story about the reason that I think that having autographed copies are either important or not, depending on who the person is you can really get an energy through a signature. And if you are wanting more of this beautiful, good energy that you are feeling today, and I highly encourage you to get an autographed copy. I imagine it's a limited time thing too, because Alice is so busy. So thank you for offering that to us. Alice is so generous and exciting too for people to have these opportunities. And you've had such a variety of experiences in your life. And as this is her brave story, I'd love to ask, in your life, through your life, what is the bravest up until now decision that you have made that's led you into the life that you have now?
Yes, I have thought about this question leading into our conversation, Chrystal, and it keeps coming back to the same thing. It was my first surf lesson at Lennox in Bundjalung country in northern New South Wales, and I remember so clearly, I'd wanted to learn to surf for such a right through my life. I'd grown up in a time when things were pretty brutal in the water with the guys and shortboards and all of that sort of stuff, and I'd never managed to do that. And then finally at 46, there I was on my birthday or close to my birthday with my 12-year-old son. And I got my first wave, And there was a split-second moment on that wave where I was so aware of this choice facing me about, do I just muck around and, like a middle-aged woman learning to surf, or do I take my dream?
Mm.
Do I choose my dream? And it is so clear in my mind still. And so it was a really conscious choice. And we know, you and I know, things are moving fast out there in the water, especially in the white water. It was my first wave. And I chose that dream. I think that is probably the most important choice that I have made in my life, because it showed me that we can choose our dreams.
Mm.
Don't have to fall back on what other people might have thought about us, or what the rut that we're in, it was like, I am worth this. I'm worth this. And I took it. And and I never really kind of stopped surfing after that moment. I just kept going. And then that's what led to this expansiveness in my life that helped me close off the chapter or the season of workaholism. And it's just given me so many gifts, surfing. And that's the choice. That was my bravest choice.
To take that wave and to you said, and I'd love you to say it again, that it's not what other people might have thought for you.
Yeah. It's not
Mm.
what my history was. It's not what other people thought I should do. It's not what the cultures thought I should do. It was me and my dream and choosing my dream.
Mm. And it was joyful as well.
It was so and it
As like tears come out of my own eyes. It's like,
the dream. Oh my goodness, it was so joyful. I just heard the surfing gods. The surfing gods just went, "You will be a surfer. I will be a surfer."
let go, get this one.
And it's really interesting because that was about 17 years ago now.
Mm.
And I'm 62, and I keep myself very active for surfing. I eat well, I meditate, I do all the things so that I can keep surfing until I die.
Yes.
That's the goal. And it's really interesting being out there now as an older woman. It can feel sometimes the lineup is intimidating at the best of times. There's a lot of people and there's a lot going on in big swell, small swell, whatever. It's just busy on the Gold Coast beaches.
Yeah.
And
Through that.
yeah, and being an older woman out there, it would be really easy. And sometimes I can feel my mind drift there to what other people might be assuming about me or thinking about me. There's all that self-consciousness that bubbles up sometimes about surfing as a woman, surfing as an older woman, surfing as an older woman who had a late start. You can make up any number of stories
Yeah.
about it. And it's just that is as much a practice now as anything else, is to paddle out there, aligned in my mind and my body with the ocean and the sky and the tides and the wind, and just give myself over to that.
Mm.
Yeah. What anybody else is thinking is not my business.
A woman, hallelujah. Yes. Yeah, so be it. Let them think.
So be it.
Whatever they're going to think about me. Yeah, they're wasting their time and energy anyway.
It's not my
You'll be thinking about your amazing, beautiful life ahead, or judging other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. How beautiful is it to surrender to the power of nature as well? I think there's something that's truly transformative about being in sync with nature, and you're going with the flow. People talk about flow state and all this stuff, and I'm like, well, if you're in the water and you get a wave, you're going with the flow. Like, you're going with it,
Literal.
or you're not anymore and you fall off or whatever. But then you're back in the flow and you might get sucked a little bit back out, or a little bit in. You're either way, you're experiencing flow in an embodied state
Yes.
through that practice, and the amount of presence that's available like immediately is profound as well without any trying.
Yeah. Yeah. All of that. All.
Yeah, it's it's so healing and nourishing. And I was talking to my partner about it too. I was telling him about you and I was saying, we actually don't see enough, I feel like, older, or mature aged, or however you want, senior, whatever you want to say, we don't see women as much in the water, period, after like their 20s. There's like this period of time where it's cool and it's fun. And then you have kids, or you don't, or you just get into your career or whatever it is. And then you just kind of stop surfing. And there's so many mature, sassy men out there who, I'm like, move over. There's plenty of room. I just want to say that for anyone listening, it's not too late to
Yeah.
get out there. Alice, you're such a great testament to that.
Mm. Well, Jen and I made a film a couple of years ago called Taking Off: Tales of Older Women Who Surf.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, Taking Off, Tales of Older Women
Yeah, and we did
in the
that in
surf.
collaboration with the Surf Witches Board Riders Club here on the Gold
The
Coast.
surf witches, board riders.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Love that.
Because a third of their members are over 50.
Amazing.
It is
Can I come up and be a member, or?
yes.
Oh, seriously? I'm going to.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have a wonderful Facebook group, join on Facebook, and just the Surf Witches Board Riders Club. They are wonderful, and
I love it.
they do so much more. Traditional board riders clubs, they're about competition and they're about
Yeah.
catchments for young surfers and taking them through it. The Surf Witches Board Riders Club is about community, and it is about
Oh,
women surfers supporting women surfers. And it is their board meets, their comp meets are absolutely hilarious. That everyone is welcome. They're judged on a whole raft of things. They have
most eccentric outfit.
yeah, wipeout,
Yes.
sorts of things. Most elegant style, all sorts of things.
Oh.
But they have educational nights and they have social nights, and so we worked with them. At the time, Jen was the president of Surf Witches.
Oh,
And
wow.
and we secured a Queensland Government women's grant. And for
Mm.
$15,000, we made a 20-minute documentary about older women who surf, and there are 5 or 6 of us in that doco. It's freely available online. You just have to go to takingoffdoco.com.
Takingoff.com, Doco.
Yeah,
Takingoffdoco.com. We're going to have that in the show notes as
yeah.
well. So,
Oh,
ooh, I have
and
to have a movie night.
you don't have to be a surfer for it to be relevant. It was actually about older
Mm,
women taking their place in the world and
mm,
following their passion. And this is what the Smart Sassy Seniors project is all about too, is aging bold, bright and vital, and
mm.
just stepping into the life that you want, that it's never too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this message. It's never too late. It's such a powerful message. It's true. And it's experience. And it's such a message of hope for everyone. And so much goodness in here that you've shared with us, along with your brave decisions and the community projects that you're a part of. You've shared with us about intuition. And I know we're going over time here. So I just want to check in with you to see how you're going and if you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a couple more questions I'd love to explore with you and see where this goes. Because you have so much to offer on these subjects, how has intuition played a role in your life and in trusting yourself in particular, especially coming from your background of overworking and what I hear is some early childhood trauma as well, and then moving out of that into a space of investigating your inner world, having more importance around your own processes, gathering tools and moving forward. How has intuition played a role in your life?
I look, I think intuition has played a really big role in my life. Before my 50s, my intuition was always overreaching, I would call it that. When I finished my PhD in about 2004, I'd been really inspired by the Schumacher College in the UK and the Highlander Folk School and a number of adult learning centres that were about sustainability and social change. And my intuition at that point went, hey, I'm going to start up as an Australian Schumacher College. And I actually did. But that's what ultimately led to burnout, that sense of overreach. And,
Wow.
when we've had big childhoods, we often overwork. We often are perfectionists or have a tendency to behave with perfectionism. We often overreach. We are often way over, we go too hard to just
Mm.
feel like we have to earn our place in the world. If only I can just do this, then I'll be okay in the world. So my intuition back then led me to do some amazing, wonderful things, and I have no regrets. But now, these days, I am much better at allowing my intuition to arise in its own time and out of a place of stillness and quietness, genuine stillness and quietness. And sometimes that's because I'm tapping and
Mm.
and calming my nervous system so that my prefrontal cortex is on, my gut, heart, and brain are working in alignment. And it will come out of a place that also recognizes that my time is valuable. I
Mm.
don't want to be burning up energy on doing too many things. I've actually, over the last few years, really been narrowing the lanes that I work in, or the lane that I work in and
Mm.
live in. And I've said no. I say no to lots of things, projects that I had started. It's like, no, that's done its time now. I need to let that go because I'm really clear on my lane.
Mm.
And so I think my intuition has changed radically over time.
Beautiful, and allowing space is what I'm hearing for that change to transpire instead of what might have been an old pattern, which would have been to try to keep it the same or mold it into something that might not have been as useful for you to explore what it might look like to have it change.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, Crystal, in one of the things that happened to me in the last couple of years, the last 3 years, was it was with the loss of our family property. It left me in debt. Not only did I,
Mm.
not only did we lose our family property, it left me in debt, which was
Wow.
worst nightmare.
Mm.
So once I got myself out of that situation and that debt, I called up the memory of my grandfather because I wanted to become financially literate. I
Mhm.
wanted to
Mhm.
develop my
Yeah.
financial intelligence and I wanted to become successful in business. And he was a very successful business person. And, my mum had just been such a write off and that had been, oh, it's just been terrible. And so I called up my grandfather and just, out of bits and pieces of memory and a sense of who he was and his energy and how to go about being financially literate. And I just started again from
Mm.
from the beginning, and that's amazing. And that feels like a intuition was involved in that as well, but it was grounded in something very solid. You know,
Mm.
my
Mhm.
grandfather's expertise. Mm,
Mhm. Mhm. So what I'm hearing is that intuition has led you into, if we want to say DNA or family stories or structures around things that were outside of what you could see in the moment or maybe feel, but you had a sense, a deep, I wouldn't even say that connection. You trusted that connection even more because you had a deeper relationship with your intuition and that not just being something that leads you towards a feeling or new ideas, but also towards tangible
Yeah.
outcomes and tools that are actually going to give you the skills that you need. And this is really a part of something I'm very interested in as well with women-centered work, which is we have to turn towards our skill gaps.
Yes.
And you recognize that it wasn't just a you needed to get better, which is often what we have in our society, is that you just do more. If you would have just done more, Alice, at that point, why didn't you know how to do that? It's like, well, because I actually didn't know how to do it.
Oh,
And so naming it and so powerful, and then saying, what didn't I know how to do? I didn't know about financial literacy. And then turning towards it, and how powerful to have your intuition lead you to someone who is in your network
yeah.
close by. Or was he already deceased? I was unsure.
He's been deceased for a long time, a long, long.
Yeah. So you're channeling.
Yeah,
You're calling in.
yeah.
Yeah.
When we talk about intergenerational trauma, but
Yeah.
what about intergenerational strengths as well?
Ooh, yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I love this.
And that was one of his strengths. And yes, I got great advice. Jen's been an entrepreneur for a long time, and she got great coaching and advice from her. And I was working with some of Joe Dispenza's material about
Oh,
the power of
ooh, I love.
imaginations. And, I'm
Yeah.
working with that. And I continue to do that. And I was budgeting and, and I worked my butt off to get myself out of debt as well.
Yeah.
I was working in a supermarket and I was working teaching classes and I was restarting my business. I worked really hard for a
Yeah.
limited amount of time to get rid of that debt. Yeah, I kind of pulled out all the stops, but that intergenerational financial literacy that my grandfather
Mm.
had, that strength, I definitely called on that intuitively.
Oh, I love that, because that what I'm hearing is, and especially when you bring up Dr. Joe Dispenza, we just hands up for that. I love that. I was doing one of his guided meditations this morning, which I am getting benefits from. But what I'm hearing is that it was not something that was taking time to learn. This is part of quantum understandings too, that we don't need to spend so much time learning all these new things, that they're already available for us
Yeah.
if we are open to receiving and knowing and connecting again, and so to this alignment and to the frequency of that which you need being available to you, and your direct line to that is, thank you for speaking to this. It's so
Mm,
powerful.
mm, mm. Yeah, it is. It's there at our fingertips. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're utilizing it and bringing that into this conversation around intuition is really powerful. And with intuition, and you named something really just as powerful, which is joy. And you are a purveyor of joy, and so is Jen
Yeah.
in the work that you do together. But as an individual too, you emit joy, and this is part of your offerings too. You're bringing joy with your messages and everything that you do. You show up. Is there a practice that you have around joy that you would be able to share with us today, or a way that you bring more joy into your own life? Is there something that we can glean from you
Oh,
today?
there's a couple of things. Look, surfing, getting down to the beach. I now only live 10 minutes away from the beach where I used to live over an hour. So just being so close to the beach, and every day I get myself in the water, whether it's surfing or swimming, and I'll run along the beach. That brings me joy. The
Oh,
sky. Oh my God, the sky brings me joy. That's such an integral practice. Um, every school holidays, I go up to visit my grandchildren who live north of here, and that brings me joy, just getting in on their level and, being with them at their level. That's a lot of joy. And then the other thing that Jen and I did, and it's a little bit hard one. it took it took about 6 weeks to really kind of get in there, but we just recently took up rock and roll dancing, and I know. And the first sort of month, 5 weeks, there were tears. It was hard, and a friend of ours talks about the learning pit.
mm, The pit.
Yeah, and we put ourselves through the learning pit, but we came out the other side of it within about 6 weeks, and we I think last night we had that was maybe our 8th or ninth week of we go to, a rock and roll dancing class at Coolangatta, the Border Rockers, and we just love it. That's our date night, and we're learning new stuff. Our brain is engaged.
Mm.
Our body-mind complex is working. We're meeting all these people we would never have otherwise met.
Oh.
We are having a blast, and that's bringing so much joy into it.
Oh. Ooh, so trying new things and things that could be difficult as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
absolutely. And a month after we started,
Mm.
Cooley Rocks on, that the big festival was on, we had we had learnt 8 moves from our classes. We could remember about 6 of them. And we got completely dressed up. I found this gorgeous rock and roll dress from Vinnie's at Tugun, and
Oh,
we got completely dressed up, and we danced on the main stage at Cooley Rocks, and we just loved it. And that was like, yes, this is our thing. We surf and we dance.
Oh, wow, I love it. Well, you're taking the dance moves out onto the board as well, I always think of surfing as a form of dance.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna look that up too. Cooley
And
Rocks.
that's the annual festival. That's amazing. It was so wholesome. It was just beautiful. And then the
Oh.
Border Rockers, they are the epitome of sweetness and joyfulness and community.
Oh, awesome, and the smile on your face says it all. Speaking of rock and
Yeah.
roll, do you have a favorite song or anthem that you are rocking out to right now for
Yeah.
our playlist, Her Brave Story
Oh,
playlist?
what a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. It's only very new. I love music and I pick it up all over the place. Jen and I'll be watching something on TV and I'll go to her, quick, have you got your phone? Can you Shazam this song? And it's in a movie or on a anywhere I go, I'm like, what's that music? Anyway, I found this on Instagram the other day. The Mountain Is You by Chase Penne, I think his name is. The Mountain is You.
Oh.
Fabulous. And that's my pick.
Ooh, I love that. The Mountain Is You. That is going on our
Yeah,
playlist.
yeah. And it calls up what we practice in Zen as well, and in yoga, mountain pose. Just one of the most profound poses is just we stand with the patience of the mountain, the patience and the timelessness of the mountain. We become the mountain becomes us. It's just everything about that. The mountain is you, and that particular song is beautiful. But just that process where we become the river, the mountain, the ocean, the sky.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mm. So song and also a practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Alice, is there anything that you would love to leave our listeners with today?
Ah, yeah. I often carry around the words of Leonard Cohen in my heart, in my head, which many of your listeners will know anyway. Crystal, ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in.
Mm. Oh, deep breath for that. It speaks right to this whole process today, Alice, as well. Thank you for all the gifts that you've given to us today, starting with your presence in being here and joining us on Her Brave Story podcast, and the EFT and the sharing of part of your journey. Your 2 incredible books, Becoming a Stillness Ninja, Reflections, and Resilience. recovery and love, as well as well-being on a budget, the Inner Ninja Handbook, which you can get on Alice's website. You can head over to Her Brave Story podcast.com to get those. And I just want to say thank you very much, Alice, for being here today. It really has been such a gift to be with you.
Oh, Chrystal, thank you. I feel so joyful and nourished to have reconnected with you. It's a beautiful thing. And yeah, may this podcast go forward and continue to flourish and continue to just uplift so many women of all ages.
Yes.
Your work is so beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, goodness. That was an absolute honor, Alice. And I have no doubt that our stories go out. And today, that Alice's brave story goes out to everyone who needs to hear it. And I know that there are so many people who need to hear Alice's story today. So I'd ask that if you are tuning in and this story has resonated with you, that you please share her brave story. You subscribe and leave us a review. This helps us amplify the voices of women rising like Alice Mackinnon, who's been here today, Mackinnon, and other women who are out there listening right now. This is a reminder that your story matters, that women's stories matter, that we need to keep sharing our stories, especially in these times, and how powerful it is to hear our stories and to have these Me Too moments and say, yeah, wow, me too. Or I'd like that to be me too. I could see myself getting there now. I trust that this helps you grow your greatness wherever you are today. Remember this, that you're worth it. Keep going. I'm going to say goodbye to you now, Alice. Thank you so much. We're sending our love, beaming our love out into the multiverse. And remember, herbravestorypodcast.com to get the show notes. You'll get all the places you can connect with Alice. She has so many amazing free resources for you, so please head over there and thrive on, brave souls.